Well, good day, ladies and gentlemen. I think we're live here. It's my pleasure to be with you again today, as always. And I thank you for being with me again today. Our shows will air on the Truth Be Told radio network Thursday evenings at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you get a chance, I hope you can listen in and perhaps hear a thing or two that you hadn't heard before, and hopefully something that helps you. Um, so I do appreciate you spending the time with me. And once again, the shows will air on the Truth Be Told radio network Thursday evenings at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Before I get into things today, just more info on Strauss. If you're looking for more information on any of the products or ingredients, or you want to uh, talk to one of the very helpful representatives they have, you can call out there toll free at 1-866-478-2873. That's 1-866-478-2873. That's the Strauss Naturals Company's toll free telephone number. You can go on their website and just check things out at Strauss, Strauss, Strauss Naturals with an S.com. And please use if you wish to order anything, please use the coupon code TRUTH, 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 and receive a 10% savings on anything that you might order from Strauss. So please do that. Money's precious these days and hard to keep. And the coupon code is TRUTH for a 10% discount on your order. So I'm down to business. This is Health and Wellness with Wayne Elliott. I'm Wayne Elliott, and pleased to be with you today. These products, just for your information, they're very safe. Have a good, safe 43-year track record. Been available commercially from the Strauss family, and your satisfaction is guaranteed. And I love that. If for any reason you are not satisfied with any Strauss product, you simply get a full refund. Strauss refuses to have dissatisfied customers. I just love that about them. So there's no risk. You can't hurt yourself, and you can't be cheated for your money or be dissatisfied with a product and be out your money. So keep that in mind as well. You really have nothing to lose and so much to gain. I personally remain forever grateful for Strauss and the Strauss family for saving me almost 30 years ago with their knowledge and their products, and for changing my life since. It's been almost 30 years now, and I just every day I'm grateful for how I've come using the Strauss products from where I was in my mid 30s there. Through some recent tests, I have mentioned before on the show that I had COVID for the third time a couple of months ago, and then myocarditis, inflamed heart, and I really didn't know anything about that. Um, in fact, at one point, I thought it was only folks that were vaccinated that got the inflamed heart condition. There's pericarditis and myocarditis. It's two different areas of the heart. It's inflammation. Very serious for what could be considered our most important organ, making sure we have blood flow pumped throughout our body. It is the most important body function. But I'm just forever grateful to them for saving me, changing my life. Both my parents benefited tremendously with heart, bladder, prostate. My dad, uh, just tremendously, and so many other people I know. some former football teammates, and just thousands of people. And I'm grateful for being just a small part in that, as a messenger, if you will. And it just makes me feel good to be involved. And I want to share with others what I've experienced, which is just a way better life from back in my, especially in the later 30s there, until I found Strauss, or Strauss found me. Um, it was a downhill ride with angina, and then all the angina symptoms, and night sweats, leg cramp, shortness of breath, pinches in the chest. And then not long after that attack and that angina started, irregular heartbeat for many years. I had a 1-beat race they called supraventricular tachycardia. And that was unpleasant because I felt every race beat. I thought it was a skip beat because there was a blank space in my pulse. It was a race beat every 6th or 7th beat. I can't recall now. And that drove me a little crazy because as I say, I felt every one. I went to sleep with it. I woke up with it. And in those days, I took those Strauss heart drops first, and it was just tremendous. Hearing returned to my left ear first. That was amazing to me. I wasn't expecting anything like that. I was more worried about the restricted blood flow in my arteries and so forth that was giving me this angina. And then not so long after the irregular heartbeat, it was most unpleasant. So I was feeling more energy taking the heart drops. Every month it just ramped up as I increased my blood flow. There's no mistaking it. You won't need someone to tell you. You will know by the way you feel, how you're doing. There's nothing more important, in my opinion, than how you feel. And uh, yeah, although it's in no blood clinical, or excuse me, pharmaceutical clinical studies I've ever read, how do the test candidates feel? It's pretty important, folks. If we feel okay and our health is good, life can be pretty good. If we're having some serious health problems, life can be pretty tough. I just noticed I'm going to shut off this one light here that's shining down too bright. Excuse me a minute. If I had more hair in my head, there'd be not quite the shine there. But that's sometimes part of aging too. That's for sure. But um, what didn't get helped by the Strauss heart drops was my irregular heartbeat. And I had not met Jim Strauss at that point. I had just taken his Strauss heart drops, recommended to me by a dear mutual friend. And so when I did get to speak to Jim, I said, well, it's great. I love these heart drops. I can't believe that was in my 5th month of taking them. I met Jim. And I said, but it has done nothing for my irregular heartbeat. And he said, well, we have the cardio formula, and which he told me was made for helping the body to repair damaged heart cells and for irregular heartbeat. Sure enough, I took that, and in 3 months, I no longer had that arrhythmia, which I was so grateful for. My goodness. And it's been good ever since, all these years. The other thing was my blood pressure. And apparently, Western medicine can't tell us whether it's our heart or our kidneys that's the culprit, the cause of high blood pressure. It's one or the other. Um, and Jim Strauss said to me, well, if it hasn't helped your blood pressure, then your heart is not the cause. I said, okay. And he said, it must be your kidneys or kidney. And I had 2 natural therapists, an iridologist and a reflexologist. Both told me that I seemed to have issues with my left kidney. So anyway, I took the Strauss kidney formula, as Jim suggested, And boy, for years and years, for over 2 decades, my blood pressure has been 120/70, which is at my age, I'm in my 70th year. And given the condition I was in to start with, I've been pretty happy about that. Um, Now, when I got COVID for the third time more recently, um, I'd heard about myocarditis. Nobody had heard too much about that. And I think it was pretty, uh, I'm not sure about rare, but it sure wasn't a frequent thing, I guess, until SARS COVID. And whether the vaccine played a role or not, I have no idea. Uh, it certainly didn't prevent it anyway in people. And the symptoms from this myocarditis, and three of the staff that work with me at my main job here in the recycling and environmental businesses, three of their children, three different families had children. The oldest, female, age 30, the youngest, a male, age 18, that contracted it, went into intensive care. I was kind of distressed to learn that they were, each of them, in three different hospitals on three different medications or groups of medications. They were not on the same thing. And each of the parents told me, the folks I work with, they had the distinct impression that there just wasn't a lot of experience with this, and that they felt as though the doctors were a bit puzzled at what to do to help these young people. Um, I didn't. I didn't go into the hospital. The COVID was rough this time. I lost 25 pounds in about a week and a half. Um, and then when I finally got over that, I found myself with this myocarditis, and the two big symptoms, if you will, that I had were high blood pressure. I hadn't had that in almost 30 years, and irregular heartbeat. Only there was nothing regular about my irregular heartbeat this time. It wasn't the same irregularity over and over again. It was all over the place. And it was quite frightening for a good week to 10 days, where when I went from an easy chair, just the 10 or so steps to the closest washroom in my home, my heart would go as fast as 200 beats a minute. And that was really difficult because it wasn't really pumping, it was fluttering. And, I had some tests and it was truly fluttering. Well, then I was fighting really to breathe properly. I wasn't getting the oxygen to breathe, and it was something else there. Well, what I did do for myself was I was taking large doses of Strauss heart drops, Strauss cardio formula, because I had this wild irregular heartbeat, and the kidney formula because my blood pressure went high. I think the highest it went, boy, it was very high. The one day it went as high as 170 something over 110. And they say at 180 over 120, it's an emergency and you need to get to a hospital. Um, I didn't have to do much of anything to get it to increase rapidly in those first few weeks. Well, all the while I was taking large doses of the three Strauss formulas, the Strauss heart drops, the cardio formula, and the Strauss kidney formula. And thankfully, that racing up to 200 beats stopped, and my heart would still go as fast as 140, 145 beats a minute. Far too fast, 60, 70 is normal and good. So my heart many times was beating at least double the pace, and then not regular on top of it. Here we are now. I've been just shy of 2 months since these myocarditis symptoms started, and my blood pressure's pretty good. Not as good as it was yet. Um, and it's not quite as regular as I'd like either. Now, most of us will have higher blood pressure in the morning first thing, especially if you eat or drink something before you test your blood pressure. But in any event, it's kind of odd, really. After a night's rest, our blood pressure can tend to be high. Um, but I I would say that most of my, and I test it several times a day still, and I will continue to. Most of my readings are in the range of 140 over 80, which used to be normal. When they lowered what they felt was normal down to 120 over 70, I wonder just how many million people went on pills for blood pressure after that. But in any event, that's what they say is ideal, is 120 or less over 70. And so I can't say that I'm there yet on a regular basis. The arrhythmia, if I climb a long set of stairs, my heart will go up to 130, 140 beats a minute. And sometimes I have to back pressure, which is like you're going to blow out, only stop yourself from blowing out, creates back pressure on the heart, and that generally slows it down. But it is still not regular. It's gotten better and better. Excuse me. Taking these formulas and longer periods of staying regular, but it is not regular yet. And I'm realizing, and I'm not a guy really that takes it easy too much. I never have been. I'm a pretty busy fellow, and so I'm not used to taking it easy. But I can see this is a process, and the one thing that all three doctors of my coworkers' children said to all three of them was to basically do nothing for 6 months, nothing for 3 months. After 3 months, a light walk. They were all told they couldn't go back to work for 6 months. So I'm doing certainly more than that, whether I should be or not. I feel like I have the energy, but there's times my body won't back it up. I I sure wouldn't want to lift anything heavy or carry anything a distance at this point. So it is a process. There's no question about that. This heart inflammation. Of course, I'm hoping, my plan is to get back to what I had before for blood pressure for so many years, and the same thing with the arrhythmia. I'm sure hoping that that goes regular, my heartbeat, and like it has been for so many years as well. But I'm confident. I feel pretty good. Excuse me. I'm just gonna clear my throat from. I do get congested still, and so yes, if you do have this condition, obviously patience is a virtue. I started to wonder, after 2 months uh, of really not doing much of anything at all. Uh, I started thinking about, well, at some point I have to build some strength back. So I did start out with just very light, slow walks around my property where I live, and then have increased it from there. But patience sure helps with this because it is a process. It doesn't appear to be a quick fix, and of course there are a bunch of tests like echocardiograms where we can determine if we've damaged, if our hearts have been damaged. But anyway, enough about that. Our most important body function is blood flow, and again, that's our heart's very important, but blood flow is our most important body function. Hence, we have enough vessels in each of us, and I know this is hard to believe, but it's a fact. We have enough vessels, veins, and arteries in us to go around the earth twice. It's almost impossible to believe, but it's true, and there's a reason for that. Every single one of our cells needs blood. Every single one. The cells that form the head on our hair, the hair on our head, rather, if you still have some hair on the top of your head, but from the top of our head to the tip of our toes, every single cell needs blood. And that's why there's more veins and vessels in us than anything else, because they're They are to go to every cell and, of course, every organ, our skin being our largest organ. I've always found it's disturbing to me, but the one sign, of course, of poor blood flow can be irregular color. If your skin has red blotches and if your color isn't even, it isn't the same color, or if your lips or skin are a grayish blue color, that's a definite sign of not getting blood or sufficient blood that we're meant to have. The human body's a pretty amazing thing. We could never abuse a piece of equipment or our lawnmower at home or our furnace or our car the way some of us abuse ourselves, don't eat right, play games like football and so forth, collision sports. They're not contact sports; they're collision sports, and it's just amazing. We cannot eat right. When I was young, I all but lived on milk and milkshakes, and of course that got me. I had clogged arteries and an attack in my mid 30s, a heart attack, right at home. Um, that combination of just insane amounts of milk, white milk, chocolate milk, and milkshakes, and all that sugar in the ice cream and the syrup and the milkshakes. I had a Dairy Queen as a first business. I loved milkshakes, but I guess they didn't love me. And as Jim Strauss used to say, unless your mother's a cow, you really shouldn't drink cow's milk. We are the only creatures that drink the milk of another creature. And so no big shock that didn't work out for me. My habits of drinking milk and milkshakes. You're a young athlete, you're strong, and you look okay on the outside, but it doesn't mean that everything's going okay on the inside. And milk and sugar, I guess, was my nemesis. But there, the blood vessels in us, right down to the tiny capillaries that you could hardly see, I'm sure, going to your skin and your eyes and so forth. They're all important. They all carry blood. They're all meant to carry blood. And wherever we have a restriction or a blockage, a complete blockage, we are going to have trouble. The blood flow is life, it's energy, and everything flows in the blood. It's the only transportation system in our body. Our food, our medicine, our natural supplements, our waste, our water, our wastewater, and that all important oxygen must travel in the blood. There's no other transportation system in our bodies but our blood system, our blood flow. And that's why we have all those vessels and so many tens of thousands of miles of them in us, is that every single cell needs it. So, and where we don't have it or have severe restrictions, we're going to have problems. We tend to think of heart attack or strokes, brain attack, and that is from lack of oxygen, and that is from restricted blood flow. So there's nothing more important. And I feel personally, the Strauss Heart Drops are the most important health supplement ever created. The things I've seen, in addition to my own experience and that of my folks, you'd never convince me otherwise. It's like miracles. What I've seen with diabetics, whose biggest challenge is blood flow. That's their big issue. And diabetics have a 400 to 500% greater chance, 4 to 5 times more likely to have a heart attack or stroke than those without that are not diabetic, those without diabetes. And diabetes is almost at epidemic proportions in the world. Largely, a couple of things really, but the biggest thing would be our foods and the foods that are available to us. Fast foods, packaged foods. There's so many things available to us today that are not good. Genetically modified organisms. It's said that 93% of the items in our major chain grocery stores, 93% of the items, including the produce section, are or contain genetically modified organisms. This is man-made changes to the foods. Well, over all the Strauss teachings that I had and all the years as a natural health advocate, I have come to believe you cannot beat nature and you cannot improve on nature. And I think it's very arrogant for us to have thought we could duplicate nature by making this man-made, genetically modified foods. Um, because I just don't believe it's so. If there's missing enzymes, nature hardly ever duplicates itself, if you think of it. There are no two pine trees identical on this earth. There's no two tomatoes identical, and yet some of the GMO foods, some of them look so similar in size and so forth. The seedless fruits and veggies, they are not natural. Um, some of them look like they came out of a machine and they're identical size and so forth. Well, that's not the way nature had it. And it's those differences that's called biodiversity, those differences that really give things their strength. And these GMO crops, especially in earlier days, they had a great deal of trouble with them. Anything seedless, you see, it takes a seed to reproduce anything. People, giraffes, pine trees, pears, you name it, it takes a seed. So these seedless foods, they cannot reproduce themselves. Anything that can't reproduce itself likely has a weaker immune system. That was certainly the experience with potato farming in Canada. The McCain French Fry Company, a very large company in eastern Canada, they went to the GMO potatoes, and one year the crop failed, and they went back to natural potatoes and haven't gone back since. They have to come up with new chemical sprays all the time to fight bugs. There's insecticides, pesticides, fungicides, herbicides, chemical fertilizers, and sometimes chemical preservatives. We ship fresh produce corner to corner in North America and from abroad. So there's oftentimes chemical preservatives put on these foods. We're ingesting far more chemicals than we were intended to. We don't have the equipment to deal with chemicals, not man-made chemicals. When the Creator made us, made man and women, there were no man-made chemicals. There was only nature's chemical compositions. So what often catches the trouble is our liver, certainly, our big filter, our kidneys, because we just don't, as I say, don't really have the original equipment for dealing with chemicals. So when you consider the chemicals that surround us these days, plastics, for example, chemicals in our water. Some city waters have chlorine in them. We know what chlorine used to do to us as kids swimming in the swimming pools. Your hair would be like steel wool, and your skin would get dry, sometimes itchy. And now it's in many of the municipal water systems. All the pharmaceuticals, there's just chemicals, so many chemicals in our lives that Strauss always believed that they were a major cause of cancer, and that genetically modified foods were a major cause of cancer. Not having everything in them that nature provided that we need. On top of all of that, our soil is generally depleted. We haven't let fields lay in fallow, as we were taught back when I was a young person in school, so they could rejuvenate themselves every few years. I guess that's not been profitable or couldn't be afforded. So our soil is depleted. And what isn't in the soil, the plants can't get, the veggies can't get. And what they don't get, we don't get when we eat them. So these are problems. And, to evolve, it takes species thousands of years to evolve. To do it in one generation may be considered a way of extinction. We just cannot evolve that quickly. So there's a lot of challenges today. Blood flow is just so important, as I've pointed out. And the Strauss Heart Drops are the most effective product I've ever had experience with, heard of, or seen. to help the body safely dissolve these restrictions, return us to full blood flow. Um, Again, diabetics, they're probably the only people that really are best to take them for life. You don't have to take large quantities or anything. It'll cost you about $1 a day to take the Strauss heart drops, but the diabetics can suffer some pretty serious side effects in addition to losing parts of themselves or their eyesight. And so it's just very important. I've seen, what you'd otherwise call miracles with some diabetic folks that I've dealt with, and toes and legs saved, and changed those folks' lives. So, but most people would just need to be on the Strauss heart drops for a year. Now, I'll never quit taking them. It's 9 years now. I'm in my 70th year, and I don't want any restrictions. I don't think it's a good thing as you grow older to have any blood flow restrictions. So I do continue to take them. I have all these years. They sure can't hurt with ingredients like aged garlic extract and cayenne pepper and bilberry and hawthorn leaves and berries. It's all good stuff, all natural, 100% natural ingredients, and can't be harmed. So, as I say, I'll continue to take them for what they've done for me. And who wants to return to any problems? Prevention is a wise thing today, given some of these issues I've talked about, the chemicals in our lives, water quality, and so forth, the foods that are available to us. Many of us have become pretty inactive, drive through everything. They have drive-through banks, drive-through coffee and donut shops, drive-through fast food services. So the internet has made it so folks have to leave their home a lot less. Most everyone I know does all their banking on the internet as opposed to going into the bank. I'm old-fashioned. I still write checks, but I don't know many people that do that. But the more inactive we are, the more problems we might expect. And I believe it's part of the cause of the greater number of us who are overweight and obese. I mean, we need that activity. The Creator gave us arms and legs for good reason. We should use them. It doesn't have to be strenuous. You don't have to go lifting heavy weights or riding in bicycle marathons or running marathons. It's all relative to your age and your condition. But a stroll, a light stroll, digging in your garden if you're lucky enough to have one for 15 or 20 minutes or a half hour, all good stuff. You're out there with nature. You're out amongst the bacteria and the other creatures. You're breathing fresh air, getting some sunshine, and doing something good that burning up a little bit of energy. I've never once regretted going for a walk. Never once in my life. For stress, physical activity is magic. Honestly, it is. If you're stressed, and so many people are these days. COVID, that COVID virus that changed the world really over the course of 3 years or so, caused many people much stress and financial hardship, lost jobs sometimes, a shortage of supplies. Uh, Coincidentally, the price of all those supplies have gone way up. So you wonder if there really were all these shortages. But all of this can lead to stress, and stress, as we've all heard, kills. Stress can kill you, and one of the reasons it's so harmful is that our cells, when we're stressed and afraid, if we're afraid, then even our cells take that fight or flight. Well, you do not want your immune cells to flight when you need them. You want them to fight. That's what they're there for. So the stress that's been caused people is really unfortunate. Depression and drug abuse, drug addiction, drug overdose have increased dramatically over these 3 years. And it's understandable how folks can stress, but it's also good to know the things that can help you with that, um, with stress, and to feel better and not feel hopelessness. Uh, as I mentioned, any exercise, light walking, gardening, yoga is wonderful. Meditation, uh, staying present. We humans can tend to live in our heads, so to speak. And the only thing that's in our heads is the past. It's like we all have our own movie playing in our heads. And unfortunately, we'll often focus on unpleasant or negative experiences from the past. Well, folks, yesterday's gone, never to return. That's a fact. And if we're lucky, there's a tomorrow. And if we can, the best thing to do is to stay out of our head where all those old movies might be playing. Some good memories, hopefully, for everyone, but a lot of stuff that we is past and we need to leave in the past, things we might regret or wish we hadn't done or done something differently. It's past. It's gone. You only have from today forward. This second is the next moment of your life, and there's another one, and there's another one. It's all that matters now. And so if we can not dwell on the past, and if we can stay present, it's not necessarily an easy thing to do. Stay present in the moment. Have our attention focused on what it is we're doing. Right now, my attention's 100% focused in talking to any listeners out there. I'm not thinking about other things that I might be. I have to stay focused and with my attention on this. Um, and when we learn to do that, or do it most often, things become easier. We don't get all tangled up with the past things and, oh gee, 10 years ago and this and that. It doesn't become a hindrance to us if we can stay present. We we can then think clearly, uh, try and stay calm. There's a thing I learned a while ago about focusing all our attention on sight, then sound, then touch. So all of our attention is out of our heads on sight, sound, and touch. And it's amazing if you learn to do that. It maybe takes you 3 minutes, and how you can calm down, and when you're calmed down and not very angry, not very afraid, not very stressed, you will think clearer. It's a proven fact that fear can take away our ability to use our own common sense. Um, so, we try and stay present, try and stay in the moment, and focus our attention on where we need it at the time. It just makes life easier. Uh, I like to start. I've been a lucky man. I have been a lucky man. I had good family. I never went hungry a day in my life. I never went without a warm place to be, sleep, and had some wonderful mentors in my life. And not everyone's that fortunate, but I think if you've, for the most part, had enough to eat and a place to stay, and some family or friends to care about you, I think that's a blessed life. Um, we can let we can let other things get us down. We can worry about things that might never happen, but there's really no percentage in it. There's no upside to it. What a waste of energy, and a real downer to worry about things that haven't happened, and most times in my experience don't happen. So it's just a big waste when we could do something more positive. um, and I think we fail to give ourselves enough credit. These things can happen to us, and it could be after a perceived failure, maybe a broken marriage, uh, not doing as well financially as we'd like. There are many things where we could get down on ourselves, but I don't think we oftentimes give ourselves enough credit for who we are and what we've done. if you played a sport or sports in your youth and afterward, perhaps, if you were a dancer, if you were a musician, uh, if you helped others, if you were involved with your religion, with your church, your synagogue or temple, with your family, community involvement. Certainly, folks that have gone into the armed forces. I mean, you people have shown courage, uh, determination, and if you've excelled at any of these things and done well and made the team as a kid or whatever and got the job, well, you've got to give yourself credit for these things. Sure, everybody trips and falls. I mean, but I really think it's about getting up when you do fall. You have to just get up. The alternative is to stay laying there, I guess, or hide under the covers, but I don't think that'll get you where you want to go. You just got to keep getting up. It was kind of easy for me, and I credit playing football for that because there's a dozen or more times in a football game that yeah, you could stay down, taking a good collision hit or a clunk on the head, but but to keep getting up is the key. You're not beat till you refuse to get up, and give yourself some credit for the things you've done. You might have raised a family, provided for everyone, held a job for a long period of time, been successful at a business or as a musician or playing sports or a dancer, church involvement, helping others. There is no reward in life. Jim Strauss told me this. There's no reward in life like helping another person. And he said, even those who you'll never meet, like on a radio show, you'll never meet them. But, if you help them in some way, there's no reward like it. And I have to agree with Jim, as with everything else he ever told me that turned out to be true, is that that's certainly true. They're just great personal rewards. Rewards can come in many ways, and if your reward is it makes you feel good about you, that's a great reward. If it makes you feel good about yourself, that's a reward. Um, it may not be as fashionable these days, but it always remarkable to me that if I hold a door for a lady or for a person, uh, so many elderly ladies will comment that, well, there's not many gentlemen left. I mean, it takes nothing to hold a door for to help somebody if somebody's struggling with an extra bag of groceries or something, and just making somebody else's day easier is rewarding. I've found this, and again, it makes you feel good about yourself because there's always a what's in it for me with we humans. There's always a what's in it for me, and there's nothing wrong if what's in it for you is it makes you feel good about yourself. It's perfect. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Um, we're guaranteed nothing in this world other than, I suppose, the right to breathe the air, whatever quality it might be. There's been just a forest fires pretty much across the top of our country here in Canada. It's like each year seems to get worse. But that aside, it may not always be good quality air, but that's about all we really have absolute rights to. We live in free countries in Canada and the U.S., and so we have the right to make our way, to seize an opportunity, to choose the direction we want to go, and go to school or take a trade or do something else. We have choices. That's a blessing, and the fact that we have the freedom to do that is a blessing and something to feel grateful about. So I try and start every day and through my day, uh, I try and feel gratitude. You know, when you think of the choices of food, for example, that most of us have, and how available it is to us, and then you think about the millions in the world that's not the case, where the biggest thing on their mind today is getting something to eat for them and their families. You, it's pretty easy to feel gratitude. I've found pretty easy to be grateful for our lot in life. It seems we're becoming a more entitled society as the generations go. And there's lots of talk about, every kid shouldn't get a trophy, the winners and the losers. And I kind of agree with that. I think we are teaching some of the wrong things. But we live in great countries where we have freedom to do these things. We can work at whatever we like to work at. And, that again, that's a blessing. It's, if I remember years ago, I was feeling sorry for myself over something, another first world problem likely, but I was feeling sorry for myself, and I passed a person in a wheelchair, and it hit me like, oh my goodness, here I am feeling sorry about nothing really in comparison to this fellow who couldn't walk. So, the old expression, thank the Lord for small mercies. Well, there's big mercies too, and if we have a healthy body and a healthy mind, and they are connected, then we're blessed, and we truly have the opportunity to do what we want. And I know these are not easy times. Inflation is just knocking the heck out of everybody. It's hard to find money to come up with for things the likes of these natural supplements. But I just urge you, if you can, to do some prevention, because so many of the things in our lives are not good for us. And it's easier to prevent something than it is to suffer through it and make a comeback from it. Heart attack, stroke, anything serious like that. That high blood pressure as well, they proved in a fairly large study over concern that children ages 8 to, I think they did children ages 8 to 14 with high blood pressure. And in the study, what they did was they had the children insisted they spend an hour a day outside, and they provided balls and swing sets and teeter-totters and skipping rope and hopscotch and anything the kids might like to do together, playing together. And for 1 hour a day, so they couldn't just sit behind the TV or stay immobile all day long. They had to do that 1 hour of activity, and their blood pressure dropped just as fast or faster than what it went up. So we need that activity. Children need the activity. If you're lucky enough to be involved in a sport, doesn't matter what, from badminton to bowling to baseball, they're all good. I think it's wonderful to share with a team, and I especially love the team sports because you are sharing with others, winning, losing. You have to share that too. The team play, I drop the ball, you might pick it up. I miss the block, you'll pick up the block. It's just been wonderful in my experience. Can make some great friendships through sports and dancing or whatever a person's thing is, music. And we just need to we do need some activity. And if the best you can do is to walk up and down the hall of your where you live, an apartment or a condo or your home, just do that. Do not stay just sitting for long periods of time without moving. It's very important. Your muscles can start to dry out, shrink. They call it atrophy. And you can end up bent over or just not being able to use your limbs the way you're meant to if your muscles were to shrink and atrophy. So keeping moving is very important. Some of the other Strauss products, they're all 100% natural. Just to touch on for a moment, the prostate formula for men, been incredible, just great. And again, I suggest to the gentlemen and their ladies out there, don't wait for trouble. Try and prevent it. In the the kidney formula, which I've loved and I'm on again now because my kidneys were my blood pressure issue before. the kidney, the bladder, and the prostate formula for men all have golden seal root, nature's finest antibiotic herb. And it turns out, folks, that in those parts of our body, bladder, kidney, male prostate, bacteria can be the culprit. That's well known generally, that the bacteria anywhere, bad bacteria anywhere in us can be an issue. That's for sure, but no less so in the bladder, the kidneys, or the male prostate. The other thing about it is they are somewhat stubborn parts of our body to accept help. They're so much stubborn. And on top of that, bacteria grows quickly and grows back quickly in those parts of our body. So Strauss always stressed on people to uh, do your best not to miss a dose. Try and be very regular with taking the formulas. Usually the bladder, kidneys, prostate, usually 3 months is an effective cleanse for people. Now, the same with the cardiocom, but where I was 3 months relieving my arrhythmia years ago, my good buddy who'd gotten himself in very poor shape and 400 pounds and had many problems, he was 5 months until his arrhythmia, his heartbeat normalized. But so it's not magic. You don't take the pill and everything's fine tomorrow. It's a process. It took a while to get these conditions, so you have to be patient. And the other thing I suggest, again, and I'm talking mostly about the bladder formula, the prostate formula, the kidney formula, you will likely see, pardon me, improvements in days or within a week. In almost every case, you will see a difference in days or a week. But please finish the bottle. Don't stop then just as you're really making good headway. Finish the bottle and ideally take those formulas for at least 3 months. And then it's a good idea every couple of years to take a bottle. Again, prevention. It's a lot easier than trying to cure. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, as they say. So any of these formulas can be taken just as cleanses and to help prevent from getting further trouble. Urinary tract infections, almost rampant today. I'd recommend the Strauss bladder formula. The kidney formula is a great thing to take with the bladder. And of course, the kidneys and heart are very closely aligned, as are the lungs. So again, with high blood pressure, it's either the heart or the kidneys. If you didn't care which, you just wanted to take something natural to do something about it, it'd be the Strauss heart drops and the Strauss kidney formula. And if you're not satisfied, you just get a full refund. You're safe. There has not been one complaint of serious harm or side effect to the FDA in the United States, to Health Canada here in Canada, or to the Strauss company. So, you also can't hurt yourself eating pears or too many asparagus or rutabagas or onions. Your body knows what to do with natural substances. It's as simple as that. Now, man-made chemical drugs, that's a different story. And it's important to not take too much, to stick to the dose that you're prescribed. And please, folks, read your paperwork if you're on pharmaceuticals. They give it to you for a reason. The drug companies have discovered whatever, or most at least, side effects that you may experience. And it's important you know it so that if and when you do experience them, you can speak to your doctor so he or she could change the type of pill or change your dosage, whatever they thought was best for you. But if you don't read your paperwork and you don't know about side effects and serious side effects you might suffer, well, you're putting yourself in real danger. So I always suggest to people, be a bigger part of your own health. It is the most important thing in your life to stay healthy. Life can be great if you're healthy. Life can be not so good if you're not. And so you should be a part of it. It is, it's your life. And if you won't be a part of it, I think you're trusting too much in others. And so I just always like to stress that. Drink enough water. big problem today. A lot of people carry a bottle around all day, but they don't drink enough of it. And it is so important to drink enough water. Our body, for the most part, is 62% water. Our lungs, I believe, are close to 90%. And if we don't drink enough, dehydration is a Schedule A disease. It can kill you. So, make yourself drink enough water. A man 200 pounds is supposed to drink about 12 glasses a day. If you drink coffee, it's suggested that you drink an extra one for every cup of coffee that you have. And as far as going to the bathroom all night long and disturbing your sleep, that's not meant to be. We're supposed to urinate about 8 times in a 24-hour day. So if you're getting up 4 and 5 and 6 times, like my mom and I used to at night, I was lucky I could get back to sleep generally. My mom had trouble with that, getting back to sleep. So it caused her exhaustion. And that between the bladder and the kidney formula, just a good way to go for urinary tract infections, incontinence, lack of control. Many ladies experience, especially after having having children. And but do drink enough water. You need that. You can't make mucus without it in your sinus, for example, without water. That's it's just very important to us. So I guess our time's up for today, folks. I enjoyed myself with you, and I so much appreciate you joining me and listening in. This show will air Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So thanks again for being with me. Stay well. God bless. And God willing, I will see you next week at this same time for more health and wellness with Wayne Elliott. Take care now.